to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Well, today we're going to talk about something that makes me very happy. It is the Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, and we are moving into the Two Towers. I have a fantastic panel today. As always, I am so thrilled to be joined once again by Rani A.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you so much for the invite. I really enjoy these streams. And as you know, I really love Tolkien. So been a fan since I was little bitty. So this is always fun for me.
Excellent. Most excellent. I almost called you Lady Rani A because everyone else is a lady on here, I guess. And of course, Lady Gravemaster.
Well, good morning. How is everybody today? I am so happy to be here.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about Boromir. We kind of gushed about him a little bit last week, but today is the day where he leaves us for real. It's so tragic.
I mean, in my heart, he just follows everybody around as a ghost. He just chills back there and watches.
Well, there you go. And of course, the loveliest elf in the land, Lady Tauriel.
Oh my gosh, you have me blushing already there, Teresa. Goodness. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invite, and this is going to be fun.
Oh, yes. I can't wait. And the man, the legend, the Viking himself, Stig Kenobi.
Hi. Hello there.
There we are. Thank you. All the way from the land of our ancestors, at least my ancestors.
Yeah,
okay.
I had to travel quite a bit for this stream.
Oh, yes. Sort of. We have our animals here, too. The animals love to hang around on Miss Martin Muses. Today it is Snortopupus Cuber. Hello, humans and other critters. Oh, there's Rani A. Everyone's saying hi to each other. Oh, there's Elf herself. We have Jedi Knight Lego Hail Geeks and Gamers. Oh, well, thank you. I won't tell you that you're on the wrong channel, though. Just stay here. Okay. No, thank you. Yes. We all know Jeremy. I knew him way back when he just had a few. And they're all hailing geeks and gamers. Okay, then. Well, okay. I'm flattered. I'm very flattered. Maybe there's something I don't know. Maybe
that's his name. That's his whole name.
Yeah.
His whole name is Jedi Knight Lego Hail Geeks and Gamers.
I'm feeling stupid.
No, you're good.
Okay.
It is a really, really long name. So I kind of mistook it for the same as well, Teresa.
Okay. I mean, I thought he was being really, well, no, it was great. Really nice of you. And now that I've made a fool of myself at the beginning of it. Oh, he's got
Maybe you should block the Lego.
Okay. Oh, he says you're better than Jeremy. Oh my goodness. Shots fired. Welcome here. And we have Keck44. Thank you very much. Thank you, my mod with the most. Actually, everyone's my mod with the most. We're mostly mods. Excellent. No, so far we only have a polar bear and a Jedi Knight Lego. I think some cats might come in later, but we're here today to talk about.
If the cats pop in, we can pause.
Okay, well, to summarize, the last time we played this game, it was the end of the Fellowship of the Ring. The Fellowship broke up when Boromir lost it a little bit for a second, and they all went their separate ways, or they began to go their separate ways. Some willingly, some not so willingly. So before we move on, Rani, do you have anything you'd like to say about the Fellowship of the Ring that you haven't already?
Not too much, just a really great introduction and a great start. But The Two Towers is, I believe I was telling you guys last week, is my favorite book. So all the action and the chasing orcs and meeting the Ents and Gandalf coming back is just, it's all good. So sorry.
Okay, no problem at all. And Lady Gravemaster, anything that you might have missed out on?
Well, I'm sure I missed out on quite a lot, but no. I think, so, and I know we've talked about this before, where it's one book broken down into like just 3 separate sections. They're not actually 3 different books, at least from my point of view. And I always felt like the Fellowship, even when you compare it to one of the things that people love to do is say that Martin is so much better at world building than Tolkien was.
He isn't.
And I know
No.
he's not.
But
And
they're both damn good. You know.
Yeah.
After that, it's about your preference.
yeah.
You know.
And I think, and again, it's probably because, and I'm not saying that there's no heartache or tragedy, obviously, in the Lord of the Rings with Tolkien's writing, but it's nowhere near as nihilistic. And even when he's sort of when you're visualizing this world around you, even though you've got orcs on just trampling stuff, you have the Uruk-hai, you've got the Nine. There's all of this darkness, but I think one of the reasons I prefer Tolkien's writing over Martin's, or world building rather, is because even in the books, like the films did a good job of it to a point, but in the books the contrast really stands out with how crystal clear the water is, the sky, the lush beautiful foliage and like, you know what I mean? It's not like if when the orcs walk over something, it poisons the land. Mordor is obviously trying to like poison the rest of the land around it and make it look as desolate and hopeless as Mordor is, but it's not like, I guess best example would be, it's not like when Dany's dragons fly over and like the earth is scorched after that. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so in Game of Thrones, the very few excerpts that I have read, and the obviously like the preview, because I mean that those trailers used to be everywhere. The contrast was sort of underplayed and really muted, and you didn't have that same you didn't have that same obvious line of, these are clearly evil beings, and this, like Rivendell. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw Rivendell in theaters, I was like, it's like someone went into my brain and like put it on the screen. It was so beautiful and ethereal, and I just absolutely loved it. And even they said that like it's not what it once was. We're not what we once were. And so you still have like the concern and the stakes and everything, but I think that Tolkien just handles it so much better because he's able to put the contrast, like the contrasting sides, like the darkness, the evil, the despair, and the hopelessness, and he's able to juxtapose it against this incredible landscape with all of these otherworldly creatures and incredible beings, and then like these tiny little hobbits are in this big giant world, and he's really able to just make it work seamlessly so that you stay hopeful through the whole story, if that makes sense.
Perfect sense. And
yeah, I mean, if you read George Martin, even if you love it, you're not filled with much hope, you know. But
yeah,
I think it's almost like a different genre though, because Tolkien is high fantasy, which means magic and different races and all. Martin is almost historical fiction with dragons and some magic in the fringes of the story. he's not that fantasy as Tolkien is. You know,
Mhm.
so it's
Well, I know.
it's almost unfair to compare them. I see they get compared a lot. Even George Martin compares himself to Tolkien a bit. I've seen,
Well, I think they
but
do because Martin was such a Tolkien fan, and I think that's why. But I think he started this as a fan fiction, so to speak, loosely. But it's nothing like J.R.R. Tolkien's writing to me at all either. So I agree with you on that.
yeah, it's. I think if you're gonna compare someone to Tolkien, I think Robert Jordan
I
would
agree.
be
Yes, that would be
would be
yes.
the one who's similar to him in tone and the story. Really, it's good versus evil, plain and simple in that one.
Yeah. Well, excellent. That's a great summary, great introduction and conclusion to the Fellowship of the Ring. And Lady Tauriel, I know you weren't able to be with us last week either, so could you maybe use this opportunity? Anything you want to say about the Fellowship of the Ring before we hop right into it?
I want to say something after her.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot about you, Stig.
Yeah, I know I'm in the corner. Someone put me there.
No one put Stig in a corner.
I
Yeah,
did.
there you go.
I
Well,
was
would
gonna
you
say,
like that? Would you like to come out of your corner and go ahead, sir?
No, Tori, ladies first. Ladies first.
oh, always a gentleman.
The one thing that you do notice about that is that Frodo is unwilling, shall we say. He takes it on as an unwillingness there, just basically to stop the fighting. If you notice how he says, I will take it, but it takes a very long time for him to come to that conclusion. And the others do not actually know what they're getting into by becoming the fellowship. The humans do because they have seen war, they have been in war. They willingly do it knowing what's coming to protect the hobbits, because the hobbits are like, oh, yeah, let's go. Merry and Pippin are all just full of it's going to be wonderful. We're going on a journey. And Frodo just wants to go back home, basically. Sam will, to me, Sam is the whole book, actually.
Mhm.
The unsung hero of everything, along with Gollum, in the strange way that it is. And you see it through the eyes of Tolkien, because all the references are, if you are a fan of Tolkien. If you're not and you just love the story, so be it. But you see his perspective on where he's coming from and all of the changes that's happened in his life through the eyes of the Hobbit and the Fellowship.
Cool. Yes. Jedi Knight has been hailing all of us after he hailed Geeks and Gamers. And this is a remarkable introduction to the man in the corner. It is Hail Lady Stig.
Yep. Thank you.
My lady.
Yes.
Hello, darling. Do you want to go you want to go knitting with me?
Okay.
Do you
Go.
have your party frock on, sir?
Yeah.
Have some tea.
Grab a thimble.
Oh gosh. Go for it, Stig.
Yeah. Let me just get a better seat. Pardon my cock, madam. Anyway, The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, my favorite in the series. But like Lady Gravemaster said, it's just one book chopped into 3 pieces. Really, it's the Fellowship ends with an axe chop almost. It's just done, and it's not really a good place to end it either. It should have ended with the first chapter in the Two Towers, really, because that's when Boromir dies and all.
Mhm.
It's a more natural place to cut the story, basically. But yeah, Fellowship of the Ring introduces Middle Earth splendidly, and you get introduced to all kinds of stuff as they travel. So there's it's like a road movie, isn't it? You get all the lore and stuff as they move along. Favorite chapter is the one where they run into the Nazgul and have to hide under the tree. But yeah, it starts off with you get introduced to the world of the hobbits, then the world of the men in Bree, and then there's history all along, and then the elves, and then the dwarves when they get to Moria. So it's you get to visit all the races except the orcs, basically, in the first book, and you can only experience a fantasy world for the first time once, and that's why I tend to like the first books in every series the most. So 10 out of 10 book. Absolutely.
Well, excellent and well said all around. And speaking of which, the whole axe chop happened. Well, the first chapter of the Two Towers starts with Aragorn sped up the hill. So it's like, boom, we're right into that.
Yeah. And in the movie, he sped down the hill.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, with a deep-throated call, a great horn blew, and the blast of it smote the hills and echoed in the hollows, rising in a mighty shout above the roaring of the falls. The horn of Boromir, he cried. He is in need.
That's a hell of a horn. if you
I
think
was
about it.
Oh, no.
That's not a little flute. That's a
A big honking horn.
air raid warning.
I love it though. I mean, I
Yeah.
have
It's awesome. It's utterly
Yeah.
awesome.
I think they did well with that in the movie, and they made like
Oh,
every
yeah.
region's horn sound different, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and the extended version, you get to really see Boromir's fight too. He
Oh
kills a
yeah.
lot more orcs in the
Yeah.
extended one.
Yeah. And it's so sad when he becomes the human pincushion. He's so brave.
Yeah, he did get the point though.
A dumb kiss.
Someone tipped him off before he got shafted.
Oh,
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh god.
Oh no.
Oh boy, the chat's going wild. All right. Yeah. And welcome everyone that's coming in. Welcome everyone that's coming in. And I love it. I love how Tolkien can just take a horn blowing and turn it into such a mighty thing. Like you said, like an air raid siren.
It's like heavy metal.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, but when you see Sauron forging the ring in the movie, right, and he
Yeah.
holds up the ring and is in full armor and stuff, it looks like a heavy metal album.
Yeah, it is pretty metal, dude.
Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
awesome.
I love like Sauron's mask and armor in the movie. I don't know how they came up with that, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was based. The top of his helmet was based off the top of Orthanc.
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
right.
with the 3 spire crowns.
Yeah.
oh. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they said it on the bonus material or something. It was they wanted like a, I don't know, a pattern to it. Like it was
Where it all
somewhat-
kind of is uniform or it makes like sense altogether.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was, Orthanc was Isengard.
I was gonna say, wait, you're
Well,
talking about
or- yeah.
Isengard, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the same thing, different
Yeah,
names.
yeah, absolutely. I'm messing in my head, but yeah, they that was the idea behind it in the movie, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and then after Aragorn speeds up a hill, check this out. There's a reason I'm focusing on this because it's just too beautiful. He was sitting with his back to a tree as if he was resting. But Aragorn saw that he was pierced with many black feathered arrows. His sword was still in his hand, but it was broken near the hilt. His horn, cloven in two, was at his
Aw.
side. Many orcs lay slain, piled all about him and at his feet.
Yeah,
How
and
badass!
Yeah.
is that?
the real reason was that the orcs got pissed because of the loud noises his horn was making.
Ugh.
So they
They're
finally
like,
just
"Shut up!"
snapped. Yeah, they snapped and killed the horn.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So even though we don't see the battle, look, listen to how Tolkien was able to tell us what happened without showing us it happened.
Yeah.
Show her. Absolutely beautiful scene. Now,
Yeah.
I think it did the right thing because it's from Aragorn's point of view anyway.
mhm.
So
Yeah, that's true.
if he didn't see the battle, he'd only see the aftermath of it. And Boromir went down like a boss because there's like 20 dead orcs or something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the significance, what do you think of the start with Lady Tauriel? What do you think about the significance of the horn being cloven in two?
Well, the horn, to me, it could be heard far and wide, is what they said. And, later on, that in between the book and the movie, they did a very, very good job. And I think it was symbolic of his mental destruction and then coming back into the realization of what he did. And you have the two halves and trying to make up for the justification of the end all be all of getting the ring, to save his people. And he came to the realization that would not do it. And the harm that he caused and the making up for it of his two halves that he was in turmoil of.
Oh, very well said. Yes. Oh, and he says, "Farewell, Aragorn. Go to Minas Tirith and save my people. I have failed." And Aragorn goes, "No." Taking his hand and kissing his brow, "You have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fail." Boromir smiled. "Which way to go? Was Frodo there?" said Aragorn, but Boromir did not speak again. And we all cry. And Shane Nolan says, "The man, the myth, the legend."
Want to hear something funny?
Sure.
Every time I read a fantasy book, I always pick one of the side characters to kind of root for.
Uh-huh.
When I read The Lord of the Rings, I picked Boromir. He died.
Oh.
When I read the Sword of Shannara, I rooted for the dwarf. He died. It's been a thing in almost every damn book I've read. I just pick a side character and this guy's cool. I'm rooting for him, right?
Yes,
like clockwork, they die, and
Okay.
it's always the only one dying too, almost.
Yeah.
So,
that's kind of like when Stig got me to read Game of Thrones,
Oh, no.
and
Yeah.
I picked Ned Stark.
Oh,
Okay.
no. Yeah.
Oh.
I was chuckling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
that's a
was
hard
going
secret to
on.
keep.
Yeah, I was going on and on about it. I DM him or we talk, and it'd be like, "Oh, I'm da 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 da," and he's just going, "Uh-huh." Mhm.
Yeah, and then she got to book 3, and I get a message. She had read the wedding chapter, and she's like, "You knew, and said nothing."
Yeah. Well, Zach says, oops, I lost him. Sorry. Zach says, I cried and broke things. And no, I'm sorry, that was Canadian Spider-Man. Zach says, "I know we're talking about the books, but Sean Bean was great in that scene." And connecting to that. Yes, absolutely. he was so moving, and they added the line, my captain
king?
and my king, and I think they did that because they were trying to show that Boromir realized that Gondor would go and be a kingdom, but I'm not entirely sure the book Boromir felt that way. I don't know.
Could be. In the movie, I took it as his acceptance of who Aragorn really was, because you remember when they first met, he was like, Gondor has no king. Gondor needs no king. And then he says that, and I'm like, oh, maybe he realizes what a good person and how tried and true Aragorn was. And then I reread the books. I'm like, oh, it's not even in here. Dang
Yes.
it. So yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah. Well, it says here, Sword of Pupa says about the horn. The horn was made by Boromir's ancestor, Vorondil, and had been passed down to all the heirs of that line. I think it being broken symbolized the duties of the ruling stewards were coming to an end.
Oh, I like that explanation, because I kind of thought, like Lady Tauriel, it was kind of both a symbol of him falling and, something strong being broken, which was him, and a kind of juxtaposition of his good side and his bad side.
Yes. And then Aragorn eulogizes him. Alas, thus passes the heir of Denethor, Lord of the Tower of Guard. This is a bitter end. Now the company is all in ruin. It is I that have failed. Vain was Gandalf's trust in me. What shall I do now? Boromir has laid it on me to go to Minas Tirith, and my heart desires. But where are the ring and its bearer? How shall I find them and save the quest from disaster? He knelt for a while, bent with weeping, still clasping Boromir's hand. Let's all put our heads down and cry. Lady Gravemaster, how can you read that and not just wail to the skies?
Well, you could not have a heart. That's a possibility, I suppose.
Right?
So I'm sure
Sorry.
Stig didn't cry.
Nope,
Oh.
I did not. I'm a Viking. I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, but they have something called Viking funerals. Don't people cry at those?
No,
Like,
they shoot flaming arrows at those.
Well, yeah, but you hide your crying while the person in the boat is given like an honorable funeral, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, you just look at the clock and hope it doesn't rain.
We're actually about to get.
Oh,
You're terrible. Hey, some people. Did you do your? Did they have like sundial wristbands? Were they staring down at those while the funeral was going on?
No, there's not enough sunlight, really.
Gotcha.
We have 6 hours of daylight in the winter, so.
Sounds
Sorry,
like my kind of place. I want to go there so badly and actually explore.
It's windy, very windy.
You know what?
Because
Yeah, but the
lots of
pictures you
storms and
showed me,
rain.
it looks so pretty over there, Stig.
Well,
Field trip.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kitty cat.
I was going to say,
Sorry,
what
that-
the heck
I
was
was going to say,
that?
that one's not mine. That's not my cat.
It's not mine either.
sorry, that's my cat.
We got a bunch of crazy cat ladies here.
I know.
She's up in my face trying to talk into the mic.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
guys.
what
She
did we say?
demands attention.
Mine did that
Dang.
earlier, Lady Tauriel. I was
Yeah.
like, can you guys hear her?
yeah.
We're
You've,
actually coming up to one of my biggest. Okay, so like I said in the fellowship when we had talked, you'd always ask me, what from book to film, what was something that I wish had been portrayed better? And remember, I had said that I wish the passage of time had been better portrayed because it felt like Gandalf was only gone for 2 weeks and it was like 2 decades.
Yeah.
But we are actually, if I remember correctly, we are only like maybe a page or 2 away from something that I was so looking forward to seeing in the movie, and it wasn't there. And I'm actually I can't wait till you get there, Miss Martin, because I'll throw something or
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
So part of me is like, I'm frantically going through the book. It's like, oh my gosh, what is she talking about?
What
We're
part
only-
is this?
I'm pretty sure you're only a few pages away, so
Yeah. Well, are you talking about how they made the funeral for Boromir?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I was just checking. It's like, oh dear, please let me be correct. Well, I'll give it to you though, Lady Gravemaster. Go for it.
All right. Was nobody else angry that, first of all, you didn't actually get to see? So, something that has been really important with Legolas and Gimli is, of course, it's a dwarf and an elf, and they have generational hate for each other's races, right?
Yeah.
And the reason that their eventual fellowship, their bond, the fact that they're even working together on with the Fellowship of the Ring is a huge deal. And like dwarves don't really like men all that much either, but it's not the same kind of hatred, right?
Yeah.
So in the book, and I can't remember obviously the exact verbiage, but Gimli takes his axe and he actually makes like he cuts down like branches and stuff and they lash them together so that they cover it with their cloaks, like even like Legolas, like they put their cloaks next to each other with each, like so that they can carry Boromir down to the river, right?
Mhm.
And that is oh god, it's such a good scene. Like in the movie, like Gimli just sort of stands there solemnly, and he's got like, you know, he doesn't wail like he did in the Mines of Moria or anything like that. But oh, his stoicism and being able to like do this for his friend, because he cuts down the branches and then Legolas uses a bowstring to lash them together. So this is like the death of Boromir is really the two of like it helped to, you know, because they're both warriors. Like, yes, I know like Gimli and Legolas, obviously they have two very different appearances. Legolas makes battle look like a freaking dance, while Gimli's over here just making it look like Paul Bunyan going through the trees. And you know, just chopping everything down. But this is Legolas and Gimli literally building something together to honorably carry their friend so that they can give him proper, like they can honor him properly and send him off with his funeral, with the funeral. And I'm everybody thinks it's such a like it's that's the thing about Tolkien, like these little like, you know, if you're not paying attention, you don't maybe realize the significance of everything that's happening. And so for that to get cut out really ticked me off. Also, Aragorn and Legolas didn't sing. That also really ticked me off, because the song that is in my head, I have no doubt, like you've all heard the soundtrack for The Lord of the Rings. I have no doubt that if they had gone with Aragorn and Legolas' song, that it would have been phenomenal. Probably better than the song I have in my head. But like this whole section is just, you know, and Miss Martin, I can't remember if it's before, I think it's before they send Boromir off, but they're inspecting the orcs that Boromir killed.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how Sauron uses the red eye. There's no white. And
where did the white hand come from? Yeah, or what does it
Yes.
mean? Yes.
So this is their sort of first inkling about what's going on, and who could possibly be in the shadows manipulating things that they hadn't seen, that they didn't know or hadn't seen before. You know what I mean? So that got cut out. The idea, like what Gadfly Fiction said, exactly. Like this was dwarf, elf, and man all working together.
In the movie, though, Gandalf tells them about how
Yes.
Saruman has crossed.
I know.
Yeah, they kind of speed up the process so we don't have to go, what does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. They do that.
But if you think about it, Gandalf would have seen it because he was imprisoned, right? While Saruman
Oh, that's
was
right.
doing
So
it.
he would have known.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing he wasn't there, so they had time to try to piece it together instead of just getting it handed to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, Lady Gravemaster, don't hate me, but I kind of am not a big fan of a lot of the songs in the book. And
That's fine.
you know, I do like that in the extended
Finally.
version of the Fellowship that they included Aragorn's kind of, song about Beren and Luthien, just because, he and Arwen were kind of a reflection of, or kind of a mirror of that relationship. And I do like whenever, you get to hear the elves lament and certain other things, and I think it's a really good thing that brings heart to it, but it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't really take anything out of it to take the songs away, because I feel like, in the old school Hobbit movies and, the cartoon ones that I used to watch as a kid that my mom introduced me to, I was like, why are they singing so much? There's so much singing, but I didn't realize it's actually in the books. So
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I like the aspect that they kept it from turning into a musical, so to speak, but I also understand why you don't like it being there, because it does add a lot of heart and a lot of beauty to the story. So I get that.
Yeah. Well, I love the song, and I love the way they sing it together. Aragorn sings a verse, and Legolas, and then Aragorn. I agree. Perhaps the whole thing might not have worked within the context of the movie and the pacing, but maybe they could have had it as an over some of the scene or something,
Like an overlay,
Yeah.
So like while they're showing Boromir going down toward
River.
the waterfall with all his stuff, they could have had that over it, and that would have been a way they could have done
I would have been slightly less upset, probably. Like I'm not. Enya killed. Like holy
absolutely.
cow! That girl, that woman, just like wow. And so it wouldn't have been Legolas and oh god, I almost said Boromir. It wouldn't have been Legolas and Aragorn singing, but if it had even Enya had been like singing those lyrics or whatever as he went to the falls, because if you remember in the films, it's like there's nothing, it's just dead quiet. You hear the roar of the river as he goes away.
What they should have played?
Yeah.
What?
Don't go chasing waterfalls with
I knew you were going to say something crazy. And can I please I just want to say hi to Sandra and Canadian Spider-Man and Ancient One and Subhuman. Nice to see you here, friends. Thank you so much.
Yes, welcome. I've been putting y'all up here. I've been trying to find a good place. Maybe this is as good place as any. Of course, so good to see you all. And further up, there is one more thing that was said about the horn of Boromir, or rather, that it came from the medieval song of okay, I found it. Snorri Kuber says it was also a callback to the medieval song of Roland, where Roland burst his horn, calling for aid, which of course...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tolkien was a very big on the medieval English literature. He's a professor of all that stuff.
I was going to say, wasn't he a professor of that? So, that makes sense. Yeah.
He was
nice,
linguistics as well.
Really nice comment from Snorri Pupus. Excellent.
Yes. Uh-huh.
We have the best chat on YouTube.
Indeed, we do.
Yes. It's amazing. So thank you, everyone that's coming in. Thank you. I do appreciate you. And we just had the Sultan join us. It's not often we get a Sultan, but we love. I'm a very blessed channel because I get animals and sultans, princesses, ladies. It's quite the court, quite the king's court here of royalty. But.
Can I just say hi to everyone? I can't see the chat because I'm on my phone. So hello everybody. So I don't know who's coming in and going out unless you pop up their things. So
yeah.
Fair enough. I know my device doesn't allow too much either, so I can see like a little glimpse. One.
We like half of you as well as we would like, and no, sorry. Bilbo.
Thanks, Bilbo Baggins.
We'll pretend you delivered that line absolutely perfectly.
It's a very confusing line to say quickly.
Yeah. Well, and Stig is right. I love the chat that comes in for this. You all add so much. and I am watching you all. And if it takes a bit for me to get to your comments, only because sometimes the flow of the conversation. But I love what I'm seeing in there, and I love how everyone's saying hi to each other and everything.
I do believe we will be talking about other books after this one.
Oh yes, we're gonna keep this going.
Probably Hobbit, the Hobbit, and
Ooh,
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
I like that.
Oh,
Tales,
and can I say one thing? Because going back to Boromir, I know it's cruel, but Sean Bean dies so well because he's died over and over and over and over.
You know what? Like everybody cracks that joke, but here's the thing. Okay, so like the movies that if you guys have ever seen like Flight Plan with I think it's Jodie Foster, and Sean Bean is the captain, and he survives till the end, and everybody like cracks a joke like, oh, he survived, like he didn't die. I wonder if his contract got like he got less in his contract since he didn't have to die in this one. Everybody cracks those jokes. But if you ever watch, so I did watch this scene from I almost said Lord of the Rings. Martin's thing, the throne thing, that one. Game of Thrones, there it is. So I did, because they were like, of the clips that I have seen, Ned Stark is eternally my favorite character, and the entire kingdom fell when his head came off. But like if you watch Sean Bean's characters when they die, they all die different. Like it's not that you're not watching the same expressions or the same mannerisms or the same death scene over and over and over again when he dies. You know what I mean?
Want to know something fun? The Sharp movies, which is about a rifleman troop during the Napoleon War. Sean Bean survives all 14 of them.
Holy cow!
Yeah, he even survives Waterloo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Side note, though, Sean Bean is not the one who's died the most on screen. He's in second place.
Who's
First
in
place,
first?
Christopher Lee.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Because he's been in a lot of stuff. So.
Dracula.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Fair enough.
Hey, you know what? Those are two greats.
Sean Bean also survives National Treasure.
Yes, he does.
And
that's
Ronin.
right.
And
he
Ronin with De Niro, they just fire him.
Yep.
He doesn't die.
Well, he could have gone home and like got hit by a bus on his way. You never know.
Rennie's over here writing headcanon.
I
know. Yeah,
But
no,
I
think it's there's something there's just something it's very seldom that you can find someone that can play a hero, a villain, and then like sort of what he was in Lord of the Rings, where he is a good person for a bit of it, but obviously, like, the ring corrupts him or whatever. He wants to use the ring for Gondor's power, because all anybody sees when they look at this ring is the power, the fear that it can bring them and whatnot, like the power of fear and control. And so Sean Bean is just, I've seen him play the villain, especially like in GoldenEye. He's an excellent villain. But then like the clips, it was something on YouTube, and it was like why Ned Stark couldn't survive or something like that, because he was patient, he was observant, he was obviously he figured out, I guess the king's kids aren't the king's kids, apparently. Spoilers for anybody that doesn't watch.
Do you want to hear something fun about that?
Do I don't know, Stig. Your idea of fun is kind of
sadistic, isn't he?
His full name is Eddard Stark, right?
Okay.
The first half of that name is Edda, which is the book of Norse mythology. He starts off the story. Game of Thrones is about Ragnarok, when frost giants cross the Bifrost Bridge and attack Asgard. Asgard being King's Landing, the wall being the Bifrost Bridge.
Huh.
I love hearing about all this Norse mythology. That is awesome.
I mean, Thor dies before Ragnarok, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, King Robert uses a hammer. He's born at Storm's End. He drinks and parties. That's Thor.
Ooh.
He dies
Good.
before, and Odin dies before Ragnarok as well. In some of the old mythology stories, Odin is described as a mad king.
Huh. Yeah, that is true.
Interesting.
Wow, look at that.
And then you
That's
have,
a good.
and then you have Heimdall, right? Who is the wisest of the gods?
Mm-hmm.
Who is supposed to blow a horn when Ragnarok starts, and he's also called the Watcher. Well, that's Sam Tarley. He's a Watcher because he's a part of the Night's Watch. He has a horn. He found one.
Oh yeah.
In book 2 or 1, and he's born on Horn Hill. You know.
Dang, Stig.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of all that.
Yeah, there's a sea god called Njord who was part of a rebellion against the other gods. They lost. He got tossed ashore and had to live with wolves for 9 years. He's also described as a pervert and genderless. That's Theon Greyjoy. He had to live with the Starks for 9 years after the Greyjoy rebellion.
Or the drowned god, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's a good reference.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay,
And
circling back to Lord of the Rings here, can you see the similarities where Tolkien lost companions in the war when it comes to Boromir?
Oh yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And I think he did say something about that, not specifically Boromir, but yeah, he based a lot of the pain on losing people on the people that he lost, or his fellow soldiers. So
yeah, and the Fellowship being
Breaking-
the band of brothers.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
much. Well, you know, their companionship and all that, the camaraderie, which is why we lose our what whenever we see people trying to say that the camaraderie was anything more than a band of brothers in war, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
It's like they were all really in love.
Yeah,
Hey!
these people, those people are just subhuman.
I
It's-
love him.
I-
It's cool.
It's just the people who read this book, and you got to give. Here's the thing: Tolkien gave credit to his readers. Now everybody's like, "Oh, well, there's allegory here and there's allegory there." Well, it's almost impossible to avoid allegory entirely.
Mhm.
But he gave his readers credit. He was very much applicability over allegory.
Mhm.
You know what? That's also a kind of like a rule for a writer. Never assume your audience is dumb.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Something that several
Well,
modern authors and creators.
Well, if you're writing books today, always assume your audience is dumb.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
pretty legit. No, just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, they confuse a brotherly love with love, a family love, because it's a bond. That's like when you grow up and you're best friends. That's a type of love, because
Yeah.
if you have best friends for life, which they were, that makes a family. They tell things to each other that they would not tell to their families,
Yeah.
but it's a safe enough place that they tell each other, they scrutinize, they say, that was terrible, or you screwed up on that, or
But it doesn't mean
and-
you want to sleep with them. You just love them like
No.
family. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend like that. We've been friends since we were 5 or 6 years old, right? And we're not in love. We're just friends. And I was the best man at his wedding too.
Oh.
So
But you have great love for him. You have great feeling because he's your best friend.
But you're
Yeah.
not in love with them.
Yeah. And,
yeah,
and
exactly.
the people nowadays contribute that as something that to me is just wrong, totally wrong. It's like you have love for people, but that
Yep.
doesn't mean you want to sleep with them.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, I'll help my friend fix up his house, but I'm not gonna fuck him.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah. Not
Stig. Why? Why?
You know what? Like, now that we've been sitting here and I've been thinking about it, have you guys noticed? So my genre is obvious. Like, what I enjoy reading is like historical fiction and high fantasy, which is probably why Redwall is one of my favorite books ever. But the have you guys noticed in like cinema and stuff this whole idea of like, I think it's enemies to lovers trope?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yes.
And because like I'm sitting here thinking, you guys are right. So first of all, I hope he never sees this because this is going to be the one and only time I'm ever going to say this. But DJ Cobra was right. Jeremy 100% nailed it when he said that shippers are crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
and
that's
I
true.
don't mean if there's an actual relationship happening and they're like rooting for that relationship to succeed or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about these people who are
Like the Raylos.
yes,
Yes.
like
Yes.
them, or the people who are like, oh, Sam and Frodo are, you know, a gay couple, are they actually love each other and they just couldn't admit it to themselves. And
I
Yeah,
know
get
what-
out.
what-
Sam was always in
like-
love with Rosie.
yes, absolutely. And
I
then
know why that is.
Oh.
Because they hang out on fan fiction sites and they write porn fan fiction about
Ugh.
Well,
characters they
because-
want to ship.
yeah, well, the thing is, so I actually got into a very heated debate about how, so I've seen a lot of people do like Aragorn and Legolas and Aragorn and Gandalf, and I'm like, this is just wrong for so many reasons, not outside the fact that Gandalf is like ageless, like he is old.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw a C-3PO and Ahsoka.
you know, there's so
Oh, come
much
on.
like there's
Oh
so
my
much
God.
nastiness out there that they're taking the genuineness of these relationships and the true bond that they forged, and they're crapping all over it because they care more about these people getting it on in the sheets. But
Checking every box and
yes,
as well.
and
yeah.
it was so I work on a college campus. It's kind of a minefield. I was actually reading, I had the Two Towers on my desk because on my breaks I disappear. Like I'm like, nope, I'm going to take 15 minutes and I'm going to leave this disastrous cubicle. Well, one of them brought up how did you know that in this book is when Legolas, basically what she had said was Legolas and Gimli begin their sexual tension dance, and I was like,
No.
what are you
Oh.
talking about?
Gimli was
And-
always in love with Lady Galadriel.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
And
yes,
Legolas and him were brothers. So they went from hating each other to like respecting each other, and they became best friends. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no.
stupid.
no. She's like, yeah, it's the enemies to lovers trope, and I was
Oh,
like,
jeez.
no.
You know
They
what the weird
became
part is?
best friends.
You know, the people that are obsessed with sexual relationships between characters, they are the ones that tell people not to sexualize women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
See the
or they're
weirdness
a
there?
little upset because they're not getting any themselves, and not trying to be mean, just putting it out there. They want to live through these quote unquote fantasies that they have of all these like tropes and unlikely lovers, so to speak. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, come
Yeah.
on,
She
get a
started-
life.
I figured something. Okay, I'm gonna say I'm gonna. This was actually part of the conversation, and it told me something about her, and I want to see if you guys pick up on it when I say it. Okay, so she said, she's like, don't you remember when they're running and Gimli is looking at how swiftly Legolas is going, and he's refusing to give up, and it's not because he's wanting to rescue Merry and Pippin. It's because
he's chasing his ass.
it's because he doesn't want to lose sight of Legolas.
No,
And
I was almost right.
He was like, "Oh,
Stop.
that ass." Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Oh,
I
my
stopped and I
Lord.
looked at her and I was like, really? And that's in the book where Gimli's having that conversation with himself, you know, like because obviously in the movie he's like, we're renowned sprint. Oh God, what's the exact verbiage? He's like, we're known for our sprinting. Yeah, we dwarves are known for our sprinting. You know, it gets some of that humor in there. And again, like I've said this before, humor comes from dark places. Like obviously they're running headlong into who knows how many orcs and urukai, you know, so he's like, that's a bit of brevity, of course, but
I always saw it as like competition, or how come my stumpy legs can't go that fast? I mean, that's all I was thinking. Jeez.
Yeah.
You mean the obvious thing?
I know,
Yeah.
right? That's crazy.
And so it's yeah, so she's like, yeah, he's like joking and being comedic because he wants to show Legolas how strong he really is. And I looked at her and I was like, have you ever read the book? And she was like, I kid you not. She said, well, she was like, I've read so-and-so's adaptation of like and breakdown
fan
of
fiction?
the book, and I have watched the movies. And I was like, why does that name sound so familiar? And I'm like, I can't quite remember. I was like, I'm working on something with that name in it. Like, why does that name sound so familiar? The okay. Does this mean anything to you guys? Translation as a means of representation and diversity in Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah,
I've heard that before.
Oh.
that's
Not a
from the
fan.
Tolkien conference.
Yeah,
Not a fan.
well, she read the one who delivered that insanity. She read Martha Celis Mendoza. Like that's what she was like. Yeah, her name is Martha. She's like Martha Celis, and she was like, and she also got really confused because that's so Celis Mendoza is a hyphenated name, and she's like, I think it's sweet that she has her mother and her father's name, and I was like, most people do that when they get married.
Yeah.
Like,
that's weird.
I was like, I've known some children that have the hyphenated name, but not a lot of children have the hyphenated
rare.
name.
Yeah.
It's like that's usually a woman when she gets married. And
I hope you told that student that she's retarded.
She's not a student. She's not a student. She's 37 years old. And
beat her up in the parking lot.
Do not take any of Stig's advice.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would
yes.
probably be tempted. I'm just saying. But yeah.
Well, when she sits there and tells me that she's not going to read, she can't. She's like, she goes, even though it did so. She goes, even though it did start different fantasy types, it's just so full of microaggressions and racism and homophobia. And I was like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And she was like, yes, I do. She was like, I've read the research and the breakdowns, and there's all of these great interpretations of Tolkien's work out there. And, how do you know yours is right? And I was like, I know mine is right because it's what the author said the books were about.
It's the source material. Yeah.
Like, I don't and they're like, well, because, and then that's when we got into the whole allegory thing. And I was like, here you go. And I pulled up some sources for her. I was like, here is what Tolkien said about allegory. And he basically said it's impossible to avoid it all the time, but applicability is important. Like, what these people are not getting is that as an author, yes, you have your protagonists and your antagonists and your supporting characters and all of these different all these different characters to make up the ensemble of your overall story, right? And you can't tell your reader who they should or should not relate to or identify with, or all those other words that these people love to use.
Mm.
It's nothing like that. It's you give every character your absolute best. You give every character their chance to really be fleshed out and experienced and understood to a point. And then people will naturally gravitate to whichever character they have more of a pull towards. Like they're gonna naturally have a favorite character.
Yeah.
And that's not
Well-
necessarily going to be your main character or your antagonist or the love interest or whoever it may be. It could be the secretary that I read a book one time. It was only like 112 pages long. It was in school, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. It was like 10th grade. And it was my favorite character in that entire freaking novella was it was the coffee guy. Nobody knew his name. They literally called him the coffee guy. But what he would do is he'd always have his coffee mug, and he'd always be either going to get coffee or coming back from getting coffee. And so like people would be in a discussion about the like one of my favorite ones was that they were missing $10 million. Like it's just gone from the accounts. Like how could the company be missing $10 million?
Yeah.
And coffee guy walks by and he's like, because somebody spent it. Like he just like he would just drop stuff. Like I laughed my butt off, probably because I have the whole context of the story. And if I ever remember the name of that novella, I will tell you guys. But like it was just hilarious. He was by far my favorite. He was just dry wit. He would drop those one-liners, and it would just like change the entire experience of the story. But
Yeah, and that's
he was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, and that's what makes characters so interesting to us, and they are more authentic when they are authentic to the way the author intended them. And I just want to say here that Aragorn gives a big long speech, speaking of which, and he goes, "But come, with hope or without hope, we will follow the trail of our enemies. And woe to them if we prove the swifter. We will make such a chase as shall be accounted a marvel among the three kindreds, elves, dwarves, and men. Forth the three hunters." And boom!
Yeah.
Right there. That is what is going on in this story. And literally they start running. They were running, and I think they just
And
run
hunting some orc.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
I
they
love
added that line. Yeah, that was a
I
little bit
know.
of modern stuff.
Yeah.
They
Well,
cast
and
away gray shadows in a stony land.
Imagine if they had actually caught up with them and they had been too tired to fight.
Oh no!
God dang it, Stig. No,
Thank goodness Rohan took
interesting.
care of it.
Yeah. The thing in the book, Aragorn has like this internal struggle because he's like he doesn't know if he should chase after Frodo or if he should go after like Frodo and Sam or if he should go after Merry and Pippin.
Yeah.
And in the book, you know, he's like, I need to think. Like I need a minute because I don't know what to do. And of course, in the movie, they're like Frodo and Sam have reached the other side of the river, and they can actually see them like climbing up in the trees. That never happened in the book. At least I didn't read it that way. And I was always confused how Sam and Frodo did not realize that Boromir was being sent off in a boat in the movie. I was like, they would have totally seen them putting Boromir into the boat and sending him down the river.
Oh, they were rowing pretty quickly, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
But in the movie, again, God, this is just going to be... I'm sorry that this is going to pop up consistently, but it really does irritate me. Like, the condension of time that they do in the movies is really...
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, they had to do it to keep the pace going. But
I know.
one of my favorite things in the next chapter they have here, the Writers of Rohan.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yes,
Woo-hoo! We love them. Yeah, Lady Tauriel. What do you think of the most handsome man who ever lived? No, actually, that's Faramir. But yeah, we.
Oh.
But we finally get to see Rohan and another ones.
Yes, you have your favorites there, Teresa. Yes. And mine's the little blonde elf. Yeah, okay. Um,
Same here, sister. Love me some Legolas.
We
You should have
all
told your
love-
character. You should have told your character in the movie to like Legolas.
Let me
Oh.
tell you, I was so disappointed with that. It was like, no, you need to go with Legolas. What are you doing, girl?
Oh,
You
but
know?
I liked it. It was so cute because it also was like an elf and a dwarf. You know, I just thought it was cute.
Oh, that actually is my least favorite part, and absolutely gutted my soul and infuriated me to the point where I saw red because it undermined Legolas and Gimli's entire. The whole thing about them becoming friends is now not that big of a thing because it was already done.
Yeah,
I
I
can see that.
always thought, and especially when he dashed her hopes when the father did. You know,
Hmm.
because I think she would have pursued that, and he would have pursued that.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Can I
It's,
say, Therese, this is actually one of my favorite chapters in the entire book or in the entire story, because of the way it starts. I don't even need to have the book in front of me. The way that this chapter starts, you just know you're in for good stuff. Can I say the first 2 words of the chapter?
Yes, you can, and I'm checking in the book.
Do it.
Ready?
Do it.
I wish I had Stig's, I wish I had a deep voice, like a deeper voice. I haven't warmed up or anything, so I can't drop into my baritone, but where it goes, dusk deepened. And you're like, whoa!
And mist lay behind them among the trees below. Yes. This chase is so much fun, and it is
Yes.
so amazing.
You know
Agreed.
what? Little side note. In the movie, one of the biggest movie mistakes is in that chapter.
Oh?
Because Mary and Pippin are trying to escape, right?
Yeah.
And Mary is almost being trampled by a horse.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's on his
That's right.
on his back, and he's waving his hand and going no or whatever.
I was like,
yeah.
And
yeah.
then afterwards, he crawls over and
His hands are tied again.
yeah,
Yep.
Continuity. I remember
His
that. I was
hands-
like, wait, what?
yeah, his hands goes from being tied to not tied, and then he goes to cut the ropes.
Yep. I do remember that. Yep.
Yeah. And as they're going along and running, they come upon amongst the people of Rohan. And Aragorn says, I have been among them. They are proud and willful, but they are true-hearted, generous in thought and deed, bold, but not cruel, wise, but unlearned, writing no books, but singing many songs after the manner of the children of men before the dark years. But I do not know what has happened here of late, nor in what mind the Rohirrim may now be between the traitorous Saruman and the threat of Sauron. They have long been friends of the people of Gondor, though they are not akin to them. Good stuff. We
Yeah.
learn a lot about the Rohirrim in just those few sentences.
You know, I love the way. So obviously in writing, you're supposed to show and not tell. And it's, you brought it up before with like the images, like all of the dead orcs at Boromir's feet and stuff like that. He's just a master at this. And you never feel like you're being lectured to or, like spoken at. You know what I mean?
He does it a little bit in the first one when describing the hobbits. I mean, because I started rereading the book, and when the firework dragon.
Oh yeah.
Happens, he says it came at the hobbits like a freight train. Freight train.
Oh,
Which they didn't have in that world. Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually started noticing stuff like that in fantasy books. A few times I've seen in a fantasy world that takes place somewhere else, and they describe porcelain as china.
Oh yeah.
Someone smashed a china. I'm like, okay, that's a weird word.
Well, they're always they're always gonna make some some errors now and then. But I think Gadfly Fiction summarizes it really well. Tolkien was so good with languages, very simple language, but with such impact, meaning, and intensity behind it.
Yeah, Tolkien has some of the best flowing language that I've seen in books.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's probably due to him being a linguist and knowing many languages, but
Yes.
he has a certain flow and almost like a lyrical thing to it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Yeah. And speaking of,
Which is something George Martin doesn't have.
no, he doesn't.
No, he
I
does not
think-
have that talent.
You know what? I think the one of the biggest crimes, one of the biggest misconceptions, maybe. I think it's a crime for writing, but like biggest misconceptions. And I'm gonna go off just a little bit, but stick with me because it'll make sense. Have you guys ever seen the episode of Friends where, if you've watched any episodes, these two
I know every
characters,
episode.
Chandler and Monica, are trying to adopt. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And they want Joey to write a
Mhm.
reference letter, right?
Oh yeah.
And
I
what
think it's a
Joey
child.
does, so before that though,
He
so
goes
they
through the
approach
dictionary.
Joey and they're like, hey, the adoption agency wants a character reference from us that's not blood relative. And he's like, so why can't you have Ross do it? And Ross is obviously Monica's sister. And anybody that doesn't know Friends, Joey is like this naive, loves food, loves women, loves life kind of guys. And he's just really silly. He's
He's a
and-
bimbo, a male
yes.
bimbo.
He's
Yeah.
he's just that's his type of character, and there's a lot more nuance to it, but that's basically who he is. And he loves his friends. So they're like, hey, we need a character reference, and he's like, no problem. And so he types up a letter, and then he what he did was he took really simple word. He used a thesaurus, and he used different words. So like rather than saying like sky or funny, he would say like humorous memories of the blue atmospheric pressure that surrounds the earth, right?
Went a little too crazy with the sentence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
with the synonym.
he took the simple language and tried to sound smarter than he actually is, right?
Yeah.
He was like, I want them to think that I'm smart. I don't want them to think that I'm dumb. Like and so the letter comes out sounding horrible. Like
it's awful.
it's a terrible letter. And Stig makes an excellent point. He uses such, like, Tolkien was not afraid. He didn't need to drop $15 words every other sentence.
No.
Yeah.
He used simple words and wove them together so meticulously and so flawlessly that you never feel cheated, or at any time did you ever question Tolkien's intelligence when you were reading his writing.
Yeah, simple is always the best,
Mm-hmm.
because it's an easier read, right?
Hmm.
And Tolkien had the confidence to do that.
Yes.
He didn't have to use all kinds of obscure words just to show his,
he was
dictionary.
humble in his intelligence, and he was humble in his gifts, and he just presented them to people as they were.
Yeah,
and allowed you to enjoy and be immersed in the story.
yeah. A couple of other writers do the same. Not as well though, but they use very simple language because, like you said, there's no need to overcomplicate the sentences, right? With by having the reader have to look up words. And
Yes.
I think Terry Brooks is another one that writes very, very much like that.
Yes, I would
Simple.
agree.
Yeah, and speaking of such good writing, this is how he describes the Rohirrim guys. Their horses were of great stature, strong and clean-limbed. Their great coats glistened. Their long tails flowed in the wind. Their manes were braided on their proud necks. The men that rode them matched them well, tall and long-limbed. Their hair, flaxen pale, flowed under the light helms and streamed in long braids behind them. Their faces were stern and keen. In their hands were tall spears of ash. Painted shields were slung at their backs. Long swords were at their belts. Their burnished shirts of mail hung down upon their knees. That is the Writers of Rohan.
And
Hmm.
the way it's written, you know exactly what they look like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Amazing.
need to go beat somebody with these books and be like, what do you mean he never describes characters? What do you mean he never says what they look like? Come here so I can pound your head with this book.
Oh,
Mhm.
first when you said you were going to have to go beat someone, I was thinking, well, don't beat your husband or anything. Or-
Right?
No, he and I
Yeah.
actually he and I are grappling later tonight because he's here's the thing. So like I'm trying to train for a couple of things and he was like, I'll help you, but like and I love my husband dearly. Don't get me wrong. He does not train near as hard as I do, but I still don't like to fight him because he's so much bigger than I am. He's 6'4". Like and he is built like a brick.
well, he could be a
Bleep house.
writer of Rohirrim, I guess,
Oh,
or
he'd tower over those suckers. He's huge. And
Oh
like
my.
it's not fair because I do all of this work and I put in all of this effort and he like okay, so I tried to do a hip throw on him because center of gravity for men is different than women. So like women, like our power is in our hips and our lower body, right?
Mhm.
I knew I wasn't gonna be able to shoulder throw him because he's way taller than me. But I was like, I can land a hip throw. I literally had like I was ready to just he was gonna go down. You know what this prick did? He bent down and grabbed my ankle and he spun me to the other side of the octagon. Like I weighed nothing, like I was nothing. And I was like, listen here, sir. You need to let me take you down. He goes, nope. He's like, if you actually take me down, it's going to be because you were able to and not because I let you do it.
strike me down and you will be more powerful you can possibly imagine.
So,
There you go.
12
There
years
you go.
together, 12 years
Yeah.
together, and 10 years of marriage, and I have still never pinned this dude. It's frustrating. I will say that.
Well,
You
speaking
know what?
of,
You know what happened to me though?
What?
About 20 years ago, my sister was doing Taekwondo,
hmm
and she asked me to come up to the living room because she was going to do some pattern training.
Ah.
Mm.
And she said, you know, you have to punch at my face and I'm going to block and do something.
Oh, no.
I'm like, okay. So I kind of punched slowly, and she's like, no, you have to do it faster. So, okay, I did that. And she blocks, spins around, and plants a fist in my face. And I'm
Holy
bleeding.
crap.
Yeah, and I'm bleeding and stuff, and she's standing there. Oh, you were supposed to duck. I'm like, you didn't
Thanks
tell
for
me
that.
that.
Oh my goodness.
That is why you.
speaking of needing to duck, Matt Wilkins is here. Nice to see all the lovely ladies today. Even
Yeah.
Stig.
We're talking about ducking, and the
I
quack
bet.
shows up.
Oh my gosh. Well, and
The
anyway, so
Duntess.
this is where we first in this chapter we meet Aemir.
Yes.
Yay!
First of all, I don't care what anybody says. I love the fact that they did not put. Did you guys ever hear in the movies they thought about putting Awen into the Battle of Helm's Deep?
oh
Yeah,
they actually
but I'm glad they
filmed-
didn't.
Arwen,
well,
too.
Arwen,
Yeah,
and
Arwen
Awen's
as
well.
actually filmed like stuff in the caves
Yes.
and stuff. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you know who talked them out of doing it?
Christopher Lee, I think.
Yes, it was Christopher. So Tom Shippey and Christopher Lee had a conversation, and then Christopher Lee saw what they were doing. Oh, I miss that man. He needs to come back. But he Christopher Lee literally walked up to Peter Jackson and was like, "If you put this in the film, I will walk." Like straight up gave him an ultimatum. And like Peter Jackson was like, I don't understand. Like, why would you like, this is a great scene. This really can showcase their depth and like what these characters can do. And he goes, Tolkien did that already. He goes, and you are going to undermine Arwen killing the Night Witch or the Night King, the Witch King. Oh my God. See,
You
I'm
mean
like,
Eowyn?
sorry, Eowyn. Yeah, you're going to see, I'm all like loopy. Okay, you're going to undermine Eowyn destroying the Witch King if you do this.
Yeah.
And like it took it took, I guess, a little bit of deliberation, but like Christopher Lee was so adamant about this. And he was like refusing to shoot. He was refusing, like he was like, I will do this. Like I
Because
will.
he's a big time Tolkien fan, or he
He's
was.
a huge Tolkien fan, and
So I think that was fair.
met Tolkien. Like he had met Tolkien.
Yeah.
And so he was like, he was like, Tolkien would not want this. You don't need to do, like, there's a lot of stuff that both he and Shippy and, oh my god, I can't think of Gandalf's real name.
Oh, Ian
Ian
McKellen.
McKellen.
Ian McKellen. I was like, oh my god, sorry. Like I was like, my brain froze.
Mhm.
They were big influences on the film. Like helping guide stuff and like preventing a lot of missteps. Like when because in the Fellowship, obviously he says that, like, Gandalf says, you cannot pass, right?
Mhm.
And so Gandalf, like, I don't know that a lot of people caught that in the movie because it is a very loud scene. He says that line first, and then he does the "you shall not pass."
Yeah.
And you know, he was like, he was like, in the books, it's "you cannot pass," and he's like, but if we do it this way, we can give it some real urgency, like some true sincerity and conviction and everything like that. So there was a lot of guidance from McKellen and Lee and Shippy, and thank God Jackson listened to it, because some of the stuff they were going to put into these movies, like they were going to have a sex scene with Aragorn and Arwen.
Well,
and
and they originally cast Aragorn too young. I remember that. That was a big deal.
Yeah, they had to
Yes.
recast him. Yeah.
Yes, it's Stuart Townsend, I think.
Yes.
Yep.
And
so
Viggo Mortensen, I just can't believe anybody else being Aragorn. It just
No.
isn't right, you know?
No.
Yeah, I could not imagine it. But then you, like, when you read these books, and you know, everybody's like, there's not enough women, like the Fellowship is all men, and like, where's the strong female representation?
Read
And
the
I was like,
books.
yes, exactly. Go and read the books, because at no point does Éowyn come across at, like, she's still
not weak at all.
No, but she's still like, the thing is though, when she sees like her uncle lying there, like, she breaks. I mean, anybody would.
Well,
You know what I mean? But
he
like,
was basically a father to her. Why wouldn't she? You know?
yeah.
I mean, that's just a human thing, not a girl
Yeah.
thing.
Well, in her so like, having seen it from both sides, when her brother is like adamant, like, no, you're not fight. We don't, like, this is, the war is no place for you, whatever. I think in the book, it does a much better job of like her horror and her realization at what is actually occurring, because of course she still has the romanticized version of war in her head. This is where heroes,
That it's like glory and
this
all
is
that.
glorious and heroic, and this is where, you know, this is where your name is forged for eternity. And then she actually sees it, and I know we're jumping way ahead on that one, but like, you never get the sense that Éowyn is anything other than capable.
Oh, absolutely. And even so, you know, that she was trusted to look after everything when she was left behind in Rohan. Well, but what I like about this chapter, several things I like about it, because I love the Rohan. I love the people of Rohan.
I love the Rohirrim. Yes.
Yeah, the Rohirrim. But Éomer, as he's talking with them, as they're asking about the different hobbits and have you seen anything, he gives them a little bit of background about what's been going on in Rohan. He's like, well, don't say the name of Gandalf, because Theoden's going to have a canary, to summarize what he was saying.
Yeah.
So we know that something dark is going on in Rohan, but we're not entirely sure. But it gives us a little bit of a foreshadowing of what they're going to find. And then he tells them the very sad news that, oh, well, you know, we might have just burned them all and killed them. And probably the hobbits got caught in the middle.
And the thing is, Aragorn doesn't blame, like, you know, because he knows, like, it's too hot. Like, they're going to mesh into that battle. They're going to be impossible to see. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not, Aragorn doesn't blame, when he tells them, when he's honest with them, Aragorn doesn't blame them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stop his devastation or his hurt, but he doesn't, like, immediately chop their head off either. Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and then he sets it up that Aemir is, as he's leaving the land, and he gives them some horses, as he knows that they're going to be going on to Rohan, to where the king is. And he says, my company chafes to be away, and every hour lessens your hope. This is my choice. You may go, and what is more, I will lend you horses. This only I ask: when your quest is achieved or is proved vain, return with the horses over Entway to Miss Meduseld, the high house in Edoras, where Theoden now sits. Thus you shall prove to him that I have not misjudged. In this I place myself, and maybe my very life, in the keeping of your good faith. Do not fail. So it's like the next part of the quest is being given to them. It's like, well, now that we kind of killed them and all that, here's some horses, and yeah.
Yeah, kind of gives hint to the fact that they're really, really, really into their horses. And I don't mean anything bad by that, but yeah. They're like defined by their love and respect of horses. So to speak, in a way.
Yeah. And then as the chapter ends, I'm just going to move through because we're going to be winding this down. Oh, wait, there was something about the old man at the end there of this chapter. Yeah. Does anyone remember something like that? Yeah, suddenly Gimli looked up, and there, just on the edge of the firelight, stood an old bent man, leaning on a staff and wrapped in a great cloak.
Yes.
His wide-brimmed hat was pulled down over his eyes. Gimli sprang up. Oh, yeah, we know what this is, but yeah, they don't know. Both Aragorn and Legolas, roused by his sudden movement, sat up and stared. Well, father, what can we do for you? Said Aragorn, leaping to his feet. Come and be warm if you are cold. He strode forward, but the old man was gone. There was no trace of him to be found near at hand, and they did not dare to wander far. The moon had set, and the night was very dark. Suddenly Legolas gave a cry. The horses! The horses! The horses were gone. And if I am correct, that was Saruman. Yes, they knew. I mean, we know it was Saruman, but I don't know if they knew. But yeah, they did. They think he's. Remember the words of Aemir. He walks about like an old man, hooded and cloaked. So they're also reminding us that we have ourselves another little villain here going on. In case we forgot, remember we've got Saruman, and showing up as a creepy old man.
Yeah,
the old man.
I don't think I would call Saruman a little villain. Quite frankly.
No, he's actually the main protagonist.
Yeah.
No, sorry,
antagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Sauron's kind of passive, but
Yeah.
Saruman is the one who's always messing with the Fellowship.
Yeah, he is pretty freaking aggressive. You're right about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, bye, Lady Tauriel. I hope you have a good one.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I thought that the ring yeeted her for a second. No. Yes. And then the old man did not appear again in the houses. The horses did not return.
Tauriel got disconnected, I think.
Oh, she did? She put a message in the private chat that she needed to go soon, I thought.
No, that was
No, that was Lady.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah, we're looking for Lady Tauriel. Lady Tauriel, if you can come back to the.
Well, she said she was on her phone, so I wonder if she dropped, like, if her phone dropped signal.
Well, I hope she comes back then.
Yes, come back.
Please don't leave us forever.
Yes.
Don't leave me like you did on Naboo.
Oh no. Yeah. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that they're setting up the next stage of what we are going to be seeing. That we have what's going on at Rohan. Obviously, something's up with Theoden. Then we have Saruman coming and stirring things up.
Yeah.
And we're about ready to move on to the next part of the party. So there.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you on this, Teresa. I really love the Writers of Rohan. You know, when I first read that chapter, and I was really young when I first read these books, but when I first read it on my own, I was just like, oh, wow, they sound really scary, or they sound kind of evil, you know, and they're not. They're just broken and torn with everything that's been going on with their home. But yeah, they're very majestic, but at the same time, they don't really have magic, you know, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it also gives us more of a hint into the world of men. We started off with hobbits and elves, and we had Aragorn and Boromir, but we've heard them tell of it. We haven't yet actually seen it, and this is just such a different kind of a culture. And Stig, you would know this. I think that it has a little bit of Norse mythology in it as well, if I'm correct.
Yes, Theoden's Hall is called Mediceld, which is from Beowulf.
There we go. Yeah. So, in a lot of the ancient literature.
Yeah, Hrothgar, the guy who
Okay.
hires Beowulf, his hall is called Mediceld, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is also something they ripped off in Skyrim, because because Whiterun looks like Edoras.
Mhm.
It's
Absolutely.
almost identical, and the main building is the thing next to him, the mountain, is High Hrothgar.
Yes.
So it's
Everyone rips off.
Yeah.
Well, and see, I think here's the thing. When you've got freaking the Destroyer franchises, J.J. Abrams is like trying to say, well, it's an homage to this, it's an homage to that. No, Jaws is an homage to Moby Dick.
Well, isn't Jaws based on a book though? Its own book.
Yeah, but but Jaws, like I wasn't actually talking about I was talking about the book. Sorry, Rennie. Like I should have clarified that. But like Jaws is like an homage to Moby Dick.
Mhm.
It's its own story per se, but you see like the parallels, right?
Mhm.
But what the difference is like when you're telling oh, sorry, I'm getting so angry. When you're telling a story, do not claim that it is unique or original or that you just came up with it on your own. This is actually one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to J.K. Rowling. I'm not going to deny that the Harry Potter books obviously are a worldwide phenomenon, and honestly, I think they have had just as much of an impact on at least 2 to 3 generations that Tolkien has had on about 5 or 6 generations. I don't think Harry Potter is going to have the same type of legacy that Lord of the Rings does,
Mhm.
but it would be dishonest. It would be dishonest to say that those movies did not have a massive cultural impact. Those books and that whole series.
Mhm. Yeah.
But has anybody ever read Wizard's First Rule?
Yeah, Terry Goodkind.
Yes.
I knew you would know, Stig.
So if you ever get a chance to pick up Wizard's First Rule, which came out, I think, a full decade, wasn't it, Stig, before Harry Potter? If not more.
Something like that.
So
But there's another book though that she ripped off.
yeah.
The Wizard of Earthsea
Yeah.
by Ursula Le Guin.
Yes.
Hogwarts is basically the school in that book.
So if you read the Wizards of Earth, if you read Earthsea and you read Wizard's First Rule, especially, like, I'm sorry, Sig, you can disagree with me probably, but she ripped Dumbledore from those pages, like 100%. An eccentric, old, secretive, capable wizard who's extremely powerful, but no one's actually seen the limit of his power.
Yeah,
Like,
she ripped off Zed.
Yes. Like, sorry. It's fine. It's fine that you know what? It struck a chord. It got a lot of young people reading, which I will never discount anything that can get somebody to read. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah, no, it really did get a lot of people reading. I remember that.
So I love all those good things about it. But when you have people, I don't know that J.K. Rowling ever came out and said that it was a completely unique story. I do remember some of the book tour stuff where she basically said that this was kind of all like, it's just, it comes from her mind and it comes from, she got the inspiration while she was riding a train. Okay, that's entirely possible that helped some.
I mean, she may have forgotten where she may have gotten some inspiration, I think the funny thing that
Possibly.
came out of this, and I know this is awful of me, is that her ex-husband, I think, cheated on her and left her. And when she made all that money, he was like, "Oh shit, I messed up." So I think it's kind of funny, but that's
Yes,
just
no,
me.
I'm all for poetic justice and karma. Like
Yeah.
I love that, but it's when you Witcher did do that. Just go watch Razor Fist. He's got rants for days on that. But he but when you are watching stories and you want something new, you like what J.J. Abrams is doing is not an homage. What he did
No.
in TFA was not an homage to A New Hope. It was a complete it
It's
wasn't
just
an
a
homage
lack
to
of
anything.
creativity.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was literally he cut scenes out of the original trilogy from all the different movies. He pieced them together in a nonsensical order. Then he
Yeah.
changed different aspects about them slightly so that he could claim that they were like original or whatever,
Exactly.
or callbacks. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, if I wanted to rewatch the original trilogy in the sequels, I would just go rewatch the original trilogy. I'm here to see where the story continues. And you
Yeah.
didn't get into that until you started until you were like an hour into the movie.
Oh,
It was-
girl, don't even get me started on that because I'm a big EU fan and there's so many
Oh.
things they could have done with that. And
Yeah.
I got really
The,
mad that
but-
Ben Solo was the whole Ben Solo name pissed me off.
Yeah,
You know what?
Because
The,
that was
the-
Luke's son's name, you
Yeah.
know?
the rule for plagiarism is that you can copy ideas and storylines
Mhm.
legally,
Yes.
but you can't copy the unique execution of it.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't copy it verbatim, so to speak. Yeah.
Which is what Christopher Paolini.
Oh yeah, the
Mhm.
Inheritance series.
Yeah, his first book is Star Wars: A New Hope. Farmer grows up with his uncle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's
Pretty
a
much.
hermit knight next to him, nearby. Princess sends away the dragon eggs to him, just as the Dark Lord kidnaps her.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
yeah.
then they join the rebels and they assault the castle.
Yep.
And the old knight sacrifices himself. Also, they have glowing swords.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's still I like dragons though, so like I'm
I do like
Yeah.
dragons.
I
but
like
yeah.
I like the
Yeah,
dragons.
but those dragons
but-
are pansies, though. They have
I
feathers.
know.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
know.
It was
I never-
weird.
I mean-
I'm like, what?
If it
One
was
breath of fire and they would crash.
Well, and here's the thing. Like if they were feathers, okay, this is like if they were more majestic, like in my mind, I just didn't get like majestic off of the way that they described the feathers. You know what I mean? If it was something more like steel like hardened peacock feathers or something like that, you know what I mean? I
No,
could
girl, no feathers on dragons.
no feathers.
man.
See, okay.
No, I
Hey,
don't like it.
I've
Just
seen
like
plenty of adaptations with dragons with feathers that they didn't actually need them to fly. They were just there because they were like royalty or whatever. I was like, okay, well,
decoration.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
I
well
was like,
I could stomach.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
no, when you need the feathers to fly, I'm like, well, that seems
Weird.
very ill planned and not a very good evolutionary thing. When
This is just an overgrown bird.
yeah, you can shoot fire at each other, and oh look, now he's crashing.
Yeah,
Because his
exactly.
feathers caught fire. But yeah, no, I think when you look at sort of when you look at all of these things that have been created since Tolkien started writing, or since Tolkien published the books, lots of people are trying to say, oh well, it's an homage to Lord of the Rings, or it's a retelling of these stories or something like that. Like, how about you just call it what it is and say that, hey, I'm gonna rip this off. I'm gonna rip this author off, and I'm gonna just for like, because I think that people look at like Martin and Tolkien and Rowling and they're like, oh, well, if they can do it, I can do it, and I don't think they realize that is the exception, not the rule. There's a lot of authors who make a living being authors. There's not a lot of authors that can, buy England 6 times over.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
But
we need to
Get back
start
to LOTR.
Yeah, I've been.
sorry.
Well,
I guess
I mean, the Writers of Rohan. So we do need to start wrapping this up, but I guess is there anything in the first 2 chapters? Let's start with Rani. What would you like to?
Like I said, I really like the Writers of Rohan, and I also really like not just the breaking of the fellowship, but I feel like it's partly binding as well, because this is how Gimli and Legolas become best BFFs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is how Aragorn gets to know everybody, is by showing his heroism, not through not through glory, so to speak, but just by trying to do the right thing. And Stig's right, and Lady Gravemaster's right. They do show his inner conflict all the time, and you don't see that a whole lot in the movie. You see his doubt, but you don't really get to hear it. And it's so great to see these chapters, or to read these chapters, and see his inner monologue, so to speak, without it being first person. And yeah, it's awesome when you first meet the Rohirrim, and you're just like, oh, these guys are so awesome. And they're only men, but they just seem like amazing and majestic, like I was saying. And yeah, I love these 2 chapters, and I am a little partial because this is my favorite book of the series. So that's all I got.
Okay, and Stig Kenobi.
Great start. Or rather, it doesn't really feel like a start to the book, does it? It just feels like right where the other one left off.
Yeah, just a continuation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
flows perfectly. I think it's meant to be read in one go, the whole book.
Mm-hmm.
Tolkien constantly introduces something new. Almost in every chapter, there's something new being introduced that makes makes Middle Earth be more fleshed out and feel bigger. And this is certainly the case for the second chapter in the Two Towers, where you get the Rohirrim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is probably my least favorite of the books, though. If I have to
Heresy.
pick one, I know, but I'd still consider it a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But
Awesome.
yeah, there's there's
Yeah.
a lot of good stuff in these 2 chapters, and like Lady Gravemaster said, it's kind of every time you read the book, you'll notice little things,
Like
Yeah,
something
they're
new,
like-
or some new detail. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
the Legolas and Gimli stuff when they're building the pyre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And Lady Gravemaster, especially the Rohirrim, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that they are what all men should aspire to be.
Nice. like
Well, we can certainly say that. We can certainly
They
say
are
that.
also based on the Vikings, actually.
I know.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, especially their armor and everything, and their helmets. Yeah.
So I don't have to do any effort at all to be like the Rohirrim.
Yeah. Well, you're born that way. Okay. Well, as we wrap up this party, first of all, I always want to say thank you to the chat: Soul Assassin, Shane Nolan, Conservative Eagle, Matt Wilkins. Let me see, Soul Assassin, the Sultan, the Polar Bear himself, Keck 44, Gadfly Fiction, Shane Nolan. I already said Keck 44, and I did say Wilkins and Ancient One. If I missed out anyone, I sincerely apologize. We do appreciate you, and we lost Lady Tauriel. But hopefully, she is gonna take off the ring and return to us soon. But Rennie, where can we find you?
I don't really have content on my own channel, even though I do have 62 subscribers.
Woo!
So typically, I am on the Mr. Brown Alliance channel around like 4 or 5 p.m. on Saturdays, just kind of depends on the day. So between 4 and 5 p.m. Central, where we talk about goings on of the week, and we typically review a movie. This week we're not doing so, but we are talking about, I can't remember if he said it was Batwoman or Catwoman actresses, so please don't hate me. But typically you can find me there. Sporadically on Captain Deckard's Box channel. Haven't been there lately because life. And then every so often I try to join Sparky News for the dump. So, just kind of depends on what I've got going on. But, you'll always catch me in chats here and there whenever I have a minute. So it's very lovely to be able to speak with all of you guys because I've enjoyed listening to you from time to time. And so awesome being able to actually converse with you.
Yay! And I almost said Stig. Well, no one. You don't want anyone to find you anywhere, though, right?
No. Just leave me alone and say hello when I'm on streams, or I don't know. I'm not a YouTuber,
No, sub to his channel, so he has to make another top 5.
No.
Do it.
No.
But I'm gonna be on Alora's channel on Thursdays as usual for the Star Wars EU comic thing, and then I'm on Jade Shadow's channel on Fridays for the cringe factor. But yesterday, though, we didn't do the cringe factor. We did our top 10 horror movies. So that was a lot of fun.
I go listen to that on the replay on Jade Shadow's channel. Excellent.
Yeah.
And Lady Gravemaster.
I'm on. I do have a channel. I live stream every Thursday now. I have so many. As you all can tell, if you didn't already know, I go off on tangents and I love to talk. So editing my videos takes a lot of time. But I've got I think I have 11 videos in edit right now, 9 of which are Lord of the Rings. So I actually talk about it in one of my videos. But this series actually helped save me. Like, it literally saved my life. And I don't really go into the why about that. It's just this particular story is very near and dear to me. And that doesn't mean that it's more important to me than it is to anybody else. It just has significant importance in my own life. So yeah, but you can live stream with me every Thursday. I try to start between 6 and 6:30 p.m. Central Time because in Mountain Time it's already 5:30, so I'm trying to be considerate of everybody from the East Coast to the West Coast because I know that the time zones are kind of insane. But
it's hard to
thank
sync
you for
them
that.
up.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I try. I really do. And then but yeah, my Thursday streams are just straight nostalgia. It's like this past Thursday I talked about Hocus Pocus, and last week myself and the lovely Mrs. Nerderotic, Agent Bossy Boots, and I talked The Princess Bride, which is one of my absolute favorite books and films ever. So yeah, this coming week I'm actually going to be talking about the 1999 The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Excellent.
Awesome movie.
Yes, it is. So
yeah, I actually like the first one. Yeah.
Yes. I like the second one too. The third one not so much. But I'll be talking about that with Tug Life, one of the Geeks and Gamers ladies. So she and I are equally, I think, in love with Brendan Fraser and The Mummy.
Aww.
And so we're going to be talking about that because it's a horror action film, I think, done right, because you see a lot of films that try and mix those two and they don't quite pull it off. I will be honest with you, when I first watched The Mummy, I did not sleep for like 2 days.
Ew.
Excellent.
The scarabs absolutely scared the bejesus out of me.
That is what terrified me, to be honest with you, in those movies. I'm like,
don't let the bed bugs bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
real.
yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to that topic. And but I am on Instagram and Twitter. But if any of you are already following me, you've probably noticed I am not nearly as active as I usually am. And I'm trying to train for a half marathon charity run in December that I really got to just, I'm gonna have to double up on training sessions because I really want. I'm not where I need to be for time. I could still run it, but I'm nowhere close to where I want to be personally. And I am my own toughest critic, I promise. But yeah, so I've got that. We've got animals. There's harvesting going. I've got kids. Like my life has just been insane. So social media. As much as I love interacting with you guys, because I like to have conversations with you guys and really sort of talk. And I'm not able to do that right now because there's just so much going on. Oh, and I'm also helping a friend write a book.
Oh, well, there we go. Keeping very, very busy there. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for showing up. And
thank you for hosting it.
Thank
Teresa.
you for the
Well, thank
invite.
you. Yeah, always. Yeah, we're gonna continue with the reading. The plan is, as far as I know, to keep going on Saturday mornings. We'll see about that. So everyone, please keep reading. Please keep watching. Stay tuned on Twitter. Stay tuned. If you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed, hit the bell. Go ahead and do so. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain. If you meet an old man in a hat, don't talk to him. It's probably